All right, in our next video, we are actually going to be taking one of our V folds and turning it into a pop-up piece of art inspired by the story The Wide Mouth Frog, which is a pop-up book. So let's go ahead and get started. Same materials as before. You're going to need your visual journal, a pencil, ruler. You may or may not need your protractor this time, scissors, scrap paper, glue stick or glue, and a piece of paper, which you should have left over, that measures 5 inches by 8 inches. If you don't have a sheet of paper that looks like this, then I want you to go back to the first video or one of the videos where I walk you through measuring out the 5 by 8 inch sheet of paper, because that's where we're going to start. So I'm going to finish moving my materials aside and we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, so I've got my 5 by 8 inch sheet of paper that was left over. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this in half because we're going to be working on a smaller scale, a half sheet for this. So let's go ahead and divide this in half. So I've got my ruler. Remember, I'm going to line this 0 up with the edge of the paper. I know that this is 8 inches, so I'm going to divide it in half, which means 4 inches. I'm going to move my ruler down to the bottom and repeat the process. Mark 4 inches, always 2 sets of measurements so that we get a nice straight line. Line those 2 marks up with our ruler and connect them. Okay, let's go ahead and cut one of these out, and of course we're going to save this one. Grab your scissors and start cutting neatly. Save this. Okay, we're going to set this aside and we're going to grab our visual journal. So you're going to open up your visual journal and we're going to turn it horizontally or landscape orientation, and we're going to divide our visual journal page in half. Measure 4 inches at the top and 4 inches at the bottom. Okay. We're going to take our scissors and we're going to go ahead and cut on that line. All right, so we're gonna set this aside for now. We're gonna go ahead and grab that piece of paper that we cut, and we're gonna fold this in half. So I'm gonna turn it so it's horizontal or landscape orientation, and we're gonna fold that in half. So always matching up the edges, pressing it in place. Okay, so we're gonna be having a little fun with this today. And we're actually going to be drawing a frog, so using a V-fold. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over so that the fold is facing my left hand, okay? And the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to plan out the mouth of my frog. So I have already done a little sketch to show you kind of like where it's headed. So I usually plan out my ideas before I actually do the video for you. So here's my initial sketch or plan. So I'm going to be working with that to help me along the way. So for this, if I come back in and I measure it, my cut was made just at 2 and let's practice our measuring. So we have 1, 2, so that would be 2 over 16 would be 1/8. So it's 2 and 1/8 inch from the top. So Let's zoom in here so you get a better look at this. I'm also going to put my scrap paper underneath so that you can see it better. So here's my scrap paper, here's my paper, and I'm going to go ahead and measure 2 1/8. Okay. From there, on my scrap paper, let's see what my measurement was. I measured 1.5 inches for my cut. So we're going to take our ruler, line it up with that dot we just made, and we're going to measure 1.5 inches. If you're still struggling with your measurement, go back to that video. If you don't have a ruler, you're going to estimate. It's about 1.5 knuckles, okay, if you're estimating. All right, now for this, I could take my protractor and measure my angle. So let's see what my initial angle was on this. I haven't done that. So my angle on this looks like it was 25, 26, 27, 28. So we're right here, 28. So I can use my protractor if I wanted to try and get the same exact angle there. So that was right here, 28 degrees. Make the mark on my scrap paper so that I can move my protractor off. And measure my 28-degree angle. Yep, those look pretty similar. This one I freehanded, so I wasn't really sure what the measurements were. Let's see if it's the same on the bottom angle. So I'm gonna flip this and measure it from this side and see what this one is. So this one looks like it's 25. So I'm gonna flip my paper over and measure 25. Remember, you can pause, rewind as needed. So I just marked 25 degrees. Okay. I'm gonna flip this back around. Okay, so this is gonna be the mouth for my frog. So let's go ahead and get this cut and popped so that you can kind of see what you're working with. So you're going to cut right on that line like we have been doing. Remember not to go past it. Take my ruler to do my folds. Fold the other side. Fold this one. Flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so now we're going to pop this out. So remember, we put our hand behind the fold and we use our fingers to just push these out and in. Okay, and then we fold it in half like so. And we have the mouth of our the mouth of the wide-mouthed frog done. Okay, so then from here, we're gonna start sketching. All right, so we're gonna move into that next. So grab your pencil and get ready to draw. Okay, let's get started sketching out our frog, inspired by the book, The Wide-Mouthed Frog. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by sketching in the eyes. And those are just gonna be simple circle shapes. They're gonna be approximately the same size and approximately the same distance. So here's the edge of our fold for the mouth. I'm gonna come up and out just a little bit, and I'm gonna try and draw very lightly so that if I make a mistake, I can erase without having a bunch of lines left behind. Okay, so let's go over to the other side and try and draw an eye in approximately the same spot. It's approximately the same size. And if they're not perfect, not 100% exactly the exact same distance, the exact same size, that's okay. Mine probably won't be 100% the same size. I'm sketching these in by hand. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the iris or pupil into the frog's eye. So I'm going to do a smaller circle, and then I'm going to draw a circle, another small circle inside of it. That's going to stay white. Okay. On this one, I'm going to leave the frog's eye closed. I'm not going to do a straight line. I'm going to curve the line. And by curving the line, it helps to create the illusion of dimension here. It gives it more form. So I'm going to curve that instead of doing it straight across. Again, trying to sketch everything pretty lightly so that if I need to go in and erase or make adjustments, I can do that without disturbing the paper too much or leaving behind too many marks. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little curve here, and then essentially I'm going to trace right around the eye. Just following the shape of the eye and putting a larger circle in around it. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So just a little curve. But again, if it's not 100% identical on both sides, that's okay. Drawing lightly. Okay, so there we have the eyes of our frogs. Our frog, I should say, not plural. Now we're going to do a curved line here. And then I'm going to put in some details under the eye of this frog. So just a few wrinkles, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I'm going to do this one from a slightly different spot on this side. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sketch in the mouth. I should say the outside edges of the mouth, okay? So from here, what I'm gonna do, right from the edge of the cut, I'm gonna do a gentle curve on both sides. So this guy's gonna be pretty symmetrical, meaning mostly the same on both sides. There are gonna be some small differences. And then a curve on the end. Okay, like a little smile there. All right, from here, I am going to come down from this eye. Give it a shape something like this. I'm going to come over to this side and attempt to draw something pretty similar. Again, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect or 100% identical, but trying to draw them pretty much the same. Okay. From here, we're going to put in the bottom of this frog's mouth. So what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be coming down from here, so right from this point, and I'm going to go until I hit this center fold. So like a great big smile coming down from there. And I'm going to do the same thing from this side. Okay. All right. So we are at least 50% of the way done with our drawing. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to start creating the body of this frog, and I may adjust some of my drawing a little bit later, just to try and make things a little bit more symmetrical. You can do that as you're working. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start sketching in the body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the eye. And I'm just going to do a curve down. This is a pretty fat frog right now, sitting down, waiting for dinner. Okay. So now I'm going to come over, whoops, to the other side and draw the same thing. We're pretty close to it. And I'm going to tell you a little trick. I didn't start out this way in the video, but for me, I'm right-handed. It is easier for me to draw on the left-hand side first and be able to reproduce that on the right-hand side. So it may be different for you if you're left-handed, and you should be able to work from either side, but I will tell you, it is easier for me to draw this side first and then come over on this side and be able to replicate it. Just a little trick. So if you're right-handed, you start on the left-hand side, it's usually easier to finish on the right-hand side, and vice versa if you're left-handed. Okay, so we've got the body of this guy sketched in. Now let's put in the legs and the feet. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to actually kind of come in here and do a diagonal line with a curve on the bottom, because these are going to be making the feet. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So you can think of these as almost being like fingers coming off of there. And then I'm going to bring this up. Like that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Putting the bottom feet in, or the front feet, I should say. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to sketch in this kind of like front leg on this guy. So we've got the front legs, and now we're going to put in the feet as he's sitting down. So if you've ever found a frog or a toad sitting, especially if they're kind of big chubby ones, this is kind of what they look like. Curve this a little bit. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Putting it in on one side and then going over to the other side and repeating what I've done. Okay, so I think this guy's just about done. So in the book, The Wide-Mouthed Frog, if you look at the illustrations, which are wonderful, you will see that there's some texture added here, some circles added to the frog. So if you want to go ahead in and just, pop in some circles for texture on there, you can. And then we will be moving forward in the video to add color to this. Okay, but we're going to do that in step 2. Okay, so step 1 is just sketching sketching everything out, going in and refining your drawing, and then we'll come back in a little bit and we will add in our color. We'll be doing some watercoloring and using some colored pencils for shading. Okay. Alrighty, so I'll see you in the next video, okay?